When Destiny Poured the Wine. Written by Nonso. Chapter 1. The Boy from Lavender Lane. The City of London had a personality of its own. Some mornings, it wore a coat of silver fog, drifting lazily across the streets like a wandering ghost. Other days, it sparkled beneath golden sunlight, reflecting off glass towers and historic buildings that stood like silent witnesses to centuries of stories. On a chilly April morning, the clouds hung low over Lavender Lane, a modest neighbourhood tucked away from the glittering wealth of central London. Birds chirped from the branches of old oak trees. A ginger cat stretched lazily on a brick fence. The scent of wet soil lingered in the air after an overnight drizzle. Inside a small terraced house lived Daniel Morgan. Daniel was 12 years old. His father, Richard Morgan, worked as an IT engineer for a technology company in Canary Wharf. Richard wasn't rich. Far from it. But he was hardworking. Every morning he left the house at precisely 7 o'clock carrying the same black laptop bag. Every evening he returned with tired eyes and sore shoulders. Daniel's mother, Margaret Morgan, sold flowers at a local market. She was known by everyone in the neighbourhood. Customers often visited her stall even when they didn't need flowers. Her smile was enough reason. "Morning, Mrs. Morgan." "Morning, dear. Those roses are beautiful today." "They're beautiful because God made them." People loved her. Daniel loved her most. One Saturday morning, Daniel accompanied his mother to the flower market. The market was alive. Pigeons fluttered overhead. Street musicians played violins. Children chased bubbles floating through the air. Fresh flowers created a colourful ocean of red, yellow, purple, and white. Margaret arranged tulips while Daniel helped carry buckets. "You know something, Danny," she said. "What?" "Flowers teach us about life." Daniel rolled his eyes. His mother laughed. "Everything teaches you about life, Mum." "Because everything does." She held up a rose. "Look at this. It has thorns." "Exactly." Daniel shrugged. "So. The most beautiful things often come with pain." Years later, Daniel would remember those words. At the time, they seemed meaningless. But destiny was already quietly preparing his future. Daniel grew into a remarkable young man. By the age of 42, he had become one of London's most respected corporate executives. His office occupied the 26th floor of a sleek glass skyscraper overlooking the Thames. The view was breathtaking. Boats drifted across the river. Tourists filled the bridges. The London Eye turned slowly against the skyline. Yet despite his success, Daniel often felt empty. Money had solved many problems. But it had not solved loneliness. His father had died 3 years earlier. His mother had passed away the year before. The small house in Lavender Lane remained untouched. Sometimes Daniel drove there after work. He would sit in his car and stare at the front door. Memories echoed through his mind. His mother's laughter. His father's advice. The smell of roses. The warmth of family dinners. Success felt strangely cold without people to share it with. And so Daniel buried himself in work. He attended meetings. Closed deals. Signed contracts. Expanded businesses. Collected awards. Yet every evening he returned to a luxurious apartment that felt far too quiet. Outside his penthouse window, London glittered magnificently. Inside, silence waited. Chapter 2. Jennifer's Dark Childhood. Across the city, another life had taken a very different path. Jennifer Lawson never knew comfort. She never knew stability. And she certainly never knew what it felt like to be truly loved. The story began in a forgotten corner of East London. The neighbourhood was rough. Broken fences lined the streets. Abandoned buildings stood like skeletons. Graffiti covered walls. The air often smelled of cigarette smoke and damp concrete. Jennifer's parents died in a tragic road accident when she was only 9 years old. One rainy evening. One phone call. One terrible moment. Everything disappeared. The world that once felt safe suddenly became terrifying. After their deaths, Jennifer moved in with her uncle, a man named Victor Lawson. Victor was cruel. Not physically. At least not often. His cruelty was more subtle. More poisonous. He constantly reminded Jennifer she was unwanted. A burden. A mistake. An inconvenience. You eat too much. You cost too much. You're lucky I took you in. Every day. Every week. Every year. The words chipped away at her confidence. Like water slowly eroding stone. By 16, Jennifer believed everything he said. She believed she wasn't worthy. She believed she had no future. She believed happiness belonged to other people. Not her. One winter evening, snow drifted gently through the streets. Jennifer sat alone in her small bedroom. The wallpaper peeled from the walls. Cold air slipped through cracks in the window. A fox barked somewhere in the darkness. She stared at the ceiling. Hungry, lonely, broken, and afraid. At 17, she ran away. She carried only a backpack, 2 changes of clothes, and 37 pounds. London felt enormous, terrifying, unforgiving. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. Jobs came and went. Waitressing, cleaning, retail, anything she could find. Yet survival remained difficult. Bills piled up. Rent increased. Opportunities disappeared. Then one desperate night, Jennifer made a choice she would regret for years. The choice wasn't made because she wanted it. It wasn't made because she enjoyed it. It was made because she was hungry. Because she was scared. Because life had cornered her. And she couldn't see another way. The first time she stepped into that world, she cried afterward. The second time too. Then eventually the tears stopped. Not because it became easier. Because she became numb. A part of her simply switched off. She learned how to smile without feeling happy. How to laugh without joy. How to exist without truly living. Yet somewhere deep inside remained a small spark. A tiny voice whispering, "This isn't who you are. You were meant for something else." Jennifer clung to that voice. Even when life gave her every reason not to. She read books. Studied online courses. Improved her communication skills. Applied for legitimate jobs. Again. And again. And again. Most applications were ignored. Others ended in rejection. Still she refused to quit. Because hope, no matter how small, was all she had left. Little did she know that destiny was slowly moving pieces into place. Far away, in a glass tower overlooking the Thames, another lonely soul was about to cross her path. And neither of them would ever be the same again. Chapter 3. Rain over London. The rain arrived before dawn. Tiny droplets tapped against windows. Streetlights reflected off wet pavement. Buses hissed through puddles. The city seemed wrapped in grey silk. Daniel stood by his office window holding a cup of coffee. 42 years old. Successful. Respected. Lonely. He watched the river below. A swan glided gracefully through the water. Seagulls circled overhead. The city was waking. Thousands of stories beginning at once. Thousands of destinies unfolding. He had no idea that somewhere across London, a woman named Jennifer Lawson was also staring through a rain-covered window. Wondering if life would ever change. Wondering if happiness would ever find her. Neither knew that only 3 weeks later, at a prestigious corporate gala attended by London's elite, their worlds would collide over a single glass of wine. And when it happened, destiny would begin pouring a future neither of them could have imagined. Chapter 4. The Executive's Burden. The month of May arrived softly over London. The city seemed to awaken from its long winter sleep. Cherry blossoms decorated parks with shades of pink and white. The scent of fresh grass drifted through the air. Tourists filled the streets around Westminster. Boats moved lazily along the Thames. Street performers entertained crowds in Covent Garden. Life was everywhere. Yet inside Daniel Morgan's heart, a quiet emptiness remained. On the 26th floor of Hawthorne International Holdings, Daniel sat behind a large oak desk. The office was magnificent. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Modern artwork decorated the walls. A bookshelf contained awards, certificates, and photographs from corporate events around the world. To most people, Daniel appeared to have everything. Money, status, influence, success. But success could be deceptive. His assistant, Sarah Collins, knocked on the door. "Mr. Morgan. Come in." She entered carrying a tablet. "You have the board meeting in 20 minutes. Daniel nodded. "Anything else?" Sarah hesitated. "Your birthday dinner is next week." Daniel sighed. "I know. The team wants to celebrate." "I'd rather not." Sarah smiled. "You say that every year." Because every year I mean it. She laughed. One day we're going to force you. After she left, Daniel stared toward the river. His birthday. 43. Another year. Another celebration he didn't want. The older he became, the more he understood that success and happiness were not the same thing. The city below buzzed with activity. Sirens echoed in the distance. A helicopter passed overhead. People hurried along sidewalks carrying umbrellas despite the sunshine. Everyone seemed to be rushing somewhere. Sometimes Daniel wondered if they knew where they were going. Sometimes he wondered if he knew where he was going. That evening, Daniel drove through Lavender Lane. The neighborhood had changed. New cafes had appeared. Old shops had disappeared. Families he once knew had moved away. Yet some things remained familiar. Mrs. Patel still owned the corner convenience store. The enormous oak tree still stood near the park. Children still played football in the same field. Daniel parked outside his childhood home. The house stood quietly beneath the evening sky. Birds nested beneath the roof. A black and white cat crossed the front garden. The roses his mother planted years ago still bloomed. Their fragrance drifted gently through the cool air. Daniel smiled. His mother had loved those roses. Suddenly a memory returned. He was 10 years old, helping her water flowers, listening to her speak. One day you'll meet someone special, Danny. What if I don't? She smiled. Everyone meets somebody. What if she's annoying? His mother laughed. Then you'll love her anyway. Daniel chuckled. The memory warmed him. Then sadness followed. Life moved so quickly. People arrived. People left. Nothing stayed forever. Except memories. And sometimes even those faded. As darkness settled over London, Daniel drove home. He had no idea that destiny was preparing to introduce him to the woman his mother had unknowingly predicted years earlier. Chapter 5. A life she never chose. Jennifer Lawson hated the rain. Not because she disliked water, but because rain reminded her of loss. Her parents had died during a storm. Ever since then, rainy days carried memories she could never escape. The rain fell steadily as she walked through East London. Neon signs reflected across wet pavement. Traffic splashed through puddles. People hurried beneath umbrellas. The city looked beautiful. But Jennifer barely noticed. She was exhausted. 27 years of survival had worn her down. She worked several temporary jobs. Cleaning offices. Serving drinks. Event staffing. Anything that paid. Anything respectable. Anything that might finally help her escape the shadows of her past. She had stopped doing prostitution months earlier. It had nearly destroyed her. The shame. The danger. The emotional scars. She wanted a new life. Desperately. Yet starting over proved harder than she imagined. Employers wanted experience. Landlords wanted money. Banks wanted stability. Everyone seemed to want something she didn't have. One afternoon she sat in a small cafe near Liverpool Street Station. Outside, pigeons gathered beneath benches. A golden retriever slept beside its owner. Office workers rushed past carrying coffee cups. Jennifer stared at her laptop. Another job application. Another rejection. Her shoulders slumped. Then her phone buzzed. A message from an event agency. Event staff required. Corporate gala. Premium pay rate. Formal attire provided. Jennifer's eyes widened. She immediately accepted. It wasn't glamorous. But it was honest. And honesty felt precious. For the first time in years, she felt hopeful. The event was scheduled 3 weeks away. She had no idea that a single evening would change everything. That night she returned to her small apartment. The building was old. The hallway smelled faintly of paint and dust. The elevator rarely worked. But it was hers. A place she had earned. A place nobody could take away. Jennifer sat by the window. Outside, a fox trotted across the street. Cats watched from fences. Rain drummed softly against glass. She opened an old photograph. The only picture she had of her parents. Her mother smiled warmly. Her father stood beside her. Young. Happy. Alive. Jennifer touched the image gently. I miss you. Silence answered. A tear rolled down her cheek. Then another. She cried quietly. Not because she was weak. Because grief never truly leaves. It simply changes shape. Eventually she wiped her eyes, looked toward the city lights, and whispered something she had not said in years. Maybe things will get better. Chapter 6. The Grand Corporate Gala. 3 weeks later, London glittered beneath a clear summer sky. The evening air was warm. Stars appeared overhead. Luxury cars lined the entrance of the Grand Kensington Hotel. The building looked magnificent. Golden lights illuminated marble pillars. Fountains sparkled in the courtyard. Beautiful flower arrangements decorated every entrance. Guests arrived wearing designer suits and elegant gowns. Laughter filled the air. Champagne flowed freely. Inside the ballroom, a live orchestra played soft classical music. Crystal chandeliers cast shimmering light across polished floors. Everything looked perfect. Every detail had been carefully planned. This annual corporate gala attracted some of London's most influential people. Business leaders, investors, politicians, celebrities, executives. Among them was Daniel Morgan. He arrived shortly after 7 o'clock. As always, he looked composed, confident, professional. Yet beneath the polished exterior remained the same loneliness he carried everywhere. Guests greeted him warmly. "Daniel, good to see you. Congratulations on the quarterly results." He smiled politely, shook hands, made conversation, played his role. But inside, he felt disconnected from it all. Across the ballroom, Jennifer adjusted her uniform. The event company had provided elegant black attire. She looked professional, sophisticated, almost unrecognizable from the frightened young woman she once was. The manager addressed the staff. "Remember, professionalism." Everyone nodded. "Smile. More nods. And don't spill wine on millionaires." The room erupted with laughter. Even Jennifer laughed. For the first time that evening, her nerves eased slightly. The orchestra began another song. Guests mingled. Conversations filled the room. The event had officially begun. And destiny quietly took its position. Waiting. Watching. Preparing. Chapter 7. The Woman Serving Wine. Daniel stood near one of the ballroom windows. The city skyline stretched beyond the glass. Lights sparkled like distant stars. The Thames reflected the moonlight beautifully. For a moment he escaped the noise of the event. Then a voice interrupted him. "Red or white wine, sir?" Daniel turned. And everything changed. Not dramatically, not instantly, but something shifted. Something subtle. Something important. Standing before him was Jennifer, holding a silver tray, smiling professionally. Her eyes were remarkable. There was sadness in them, but also strength. The kind of strength earned through survival. Daniel noticed immediately. Jennifer noticed him too. Not because of his expensive suit. Not because she recognized him. But because he looked different from the other executives. Kinder. More approachable. Less arrogant. For a brief moment their eyes met. Neither spoke. Then Daniel smiled. "Which one would you recommend?" Jennifer blinked. "Sorry. The wine." She laughed softly. Honestly, I don't know anything about wine." Daniel laughed. A genuine laugh. The first genuine laugh he'd had all evening. "That's refreshing. Most people pretend they know." "Exactly." She grinned. "Then I'd choose red because it sounds sophisticated." Daniel selected a glass. "I'll trust your expertise." "That's probably a terrible decision." They both laughed. And for a moment, neither noticed how naturally the conversation flowed. A nearby guest approached Daniel. The moment ended. Jennifer excused herself, returning to work. But as she walked away, Daniel found himself watching her. Curious, interested, confused. Because for reasons he couldn't explain, he wanted to speak with her again. And across the ballroom, Jennifer felt exactly the same. Chapter 8. The Man Who Asked for Tap Water. The gala grew louder as the night matured. The orchestra played beneath the grand chandeliers, violins rising softly above the sound of laughter, clinking glasses, and expensive shoes crossing polished marble. Outside, London glowed under a deep blue sky. A warm breeze moved through the hotel courtyard, shaking the white roses arranged around the fountain. A small robin landed on the edge of the stone basin, dipped its beak into the water, and flew away as a black cab rolled past the entrance. Inside, Jennifer moved carefully through the ballroom. Red or white wine? Champagne, please. Sparkling water. Do you have anything stronger? She smiled at guests until her cheeks ached. Then she saw him again. Daniel Morgan. He stood near a group of investors, laughing politely while looking as if he wanted to escape through the nearest window. Jennifer almost laughed. For a powerful executive, he looked strangely trapped. A drunk man beside Daniel waved his empty glass in the air. You. Waitress. Jennifer turned. The man was short, round, red-faced, and wearing a bow tie that had surrendered halfway through the evening. Yes, sir. I need wine. The one that tastes rich. Jennifer paused. Rich, sir. Yes. Wine that tastes like it owns property. Daniel lowered his head, trying not to laugh. Jennifer kept a straight face. I'll bring you red, sir. Excellent. Make it ambitious. When Jennifer walked away, Daniel followed. Ambitious wine, he said. She glanced at him. Apparently, even wine needs career goals. Daniel laughed. A real laugh. Jennifer liked the sound of it. It was warm, not rehearsed. Are you enjoying the evening? He asked. Enjoying might be too strong. Surviving. That sounds more accurate. Daniel nodded. I understand that. She looked at his expensive suit. Do you? He smiled sadly. More than people think. For a moment, the noise of the ballroom seemed to fade. Then Jennifer remembered herself. She was staff. He was a guest. An executive. They belonged to different worlds. I should get back to work, she said. Daniel nodded. Of course. But before she left, he said, Jennifer, isn't it? She froze slightly. You remembered? Yes. Most people don't. I try not to be most people. She smiled. And for the first time that evening, the smile was not professional. It was real. Chapter 9. The Woman Behind the Tray. By 10 o'clock, the ballroom smelled of perfume, roasted lamb, fresh flowers, polished wood, and spilled champagne. Guests became louder. Laughs became less controlled. A woman in a silver dress cried in the toilets because her boyfriend had danced with someone called Miranda. A man from finance tried to convince the violinist to play Afro beats. Another guest spent 15 minutes explaining cryptocurrency to a waiter who only wanted to collect empty plates. Jennifer found all of it ridiculous. And strangely funny. She had spent too many years surviving pain to miss the comedy of rich people behaving foolishly. At the back of the ballroom, she paused beside a service station. Her feet hurt. Her back ached. Her smile had almost expired. Daniel appeared holding a glass of water. Here. She stared at it. For me. Yes. I'm working. Working people drink water. She hesitated, then accepted it. Thank you. I asked for tap water, Daniel said. Jennifer nearly choked. At a luxury corporate gala. Yes. That is very brave. The bartender looked offended. I imagine he did. He asked if I was sure. And were you? No. But I committed. Jennifer laughed loudly, then covered her mouth. Daniel smiled. There it was again. That spark. Beneath her tiredness, beneath the guarded expression, there was someone bright. Someone funny. Someone alive. How long have you worked events? He asked. A while. Do you enjoy it? Jennifer looked across the ballroom. A waiter was trying to rescue a bread roll from beneath a chair while pretending nobody could see him. It's honest work. Daniel heard what she did not say. Not easy. Not glamorous. Not enough. But honest. Honest work matters, he said. Jennifer looked at him carefully. Most men like him spoke to women like her with either pity or arrogance. Daniel did neither. That unsettled her. You're not what I expected, she said. What did you expect? Someone colder. That's fair. Is it? Executives have a reputation. Do you deserve yours? Daniel looked toward the windows. I hope not. There was sadness in his answer. Jennifer recognized it immediately. Loneliness had a smell. Not literally, but spiritually. It sat around people quietly, like mist. She knew it because she had carried it for years. Chapter 10. The Story She Did Not Tell. Later that night, Jennifer was sent to serve drinks in a smaller private lounge upstairs. The room was quieter. Velvet chairs surrounded low tables. A fireplace glowed softly. Large windows overlooked Kensington streets, where the trees moved gently in the night breeze. Rain began unexpectedly. Soft at first. Then stronger. The droplets tapped against the glass like nervous fingers. Jennifer stiffened. Rain always did that to her. It pulled memories from places she tried to keep locked. Her mother laughing while tying Jennifer's school shoes. Her father singing badly in the kitchen. The police officer at the door. The funeral. Her uncle's cold face. "You're lucky I took you in." She swallowed hard. "Are you all right?" Daniel stood behind her. She quickly turned. "Yes. Sorry. You don't look all right." "I'm fine." People who were not fine always said that. Daniel knew because he had said it many times. "The rain bothers you," he said gently. Jennifer gave a small laugh without humor. "You're very observant." "My mother sold flowers. She taught me to notice things." Jennifer's face softened. "That sounds lovely." It was. "Is she still alive?" Daniel paused. "No. I'm sorry." "Thank you." The rain grew heavier. For a while, they stood in silence. Two strangers in a warm room, listening to London wash itself clean. "My parents died when it rained," Jennifer said suddenly. The words surprised even her. Daniel did not move. He did not interrupt. He simply listened. "I was 9. Car accident. After that, I lived with my uncle." Her voice tightened. "He wasn't kind." Daniel's expression changed. Not pity. Concern. Respectful concern. "I'm sorry," he said. Jennifer looked down. "I don't usually tell people that." "Then thank you for telling me." That answer almost broke her. Not because it was dramatic. Because it was gentle. She had expected questions. Judgment. Awkwardness. Instead, Daniel gave her dignity. Before either could say more, the drunk man from earlier burst into the lounge. "There you are," he shouted at Daniel. "I've been looking for you." The ambitious whine betrayed me. Jennifer blinked. Daniel frowned. "Mr. Pembroke, are you all right?" "No. I tried to impress a woman from legal and accidentally called her mother." Jennifer pressed her lips together. Daniel looked away. "That is unfortunate." "Unfortunate? It is catastrophic. She is 31. Jennifer couldn't hold it in. She laughed. Daniel laughed too. Mr. Pembroke pointed at them both. "You see? This is why I don't network sober." And with that, he sat in the wrong chair, missed it completely, and landed gently on a decorative cushion. The emotional heaviness dissolved into laughter. For Jennifer, it was the first time in a long time that pain and laughter had stood in the same room. And laughter had won. Chapter 11. A name written on a napkin. At midnight, the gala began to end. Guests collected coats. Drivers pulled cars to the entrance. The orchestra packed away instruments. Staff cleared glasses, plates, napkins, and the remains of conversations that would be forgotten by morning. Jennifer stood near the service corridor, exhausted. Her hair had loosened slightly. Her shoes were punishing her personally. Her body wanted bed. Her mind, however, kept returning to Daniel. She told herself not to be foolish. Men like him did not enter the lives of women like her unless they wanted something. And yet, Daniel had not asked for anything. Not her number. Not her story. Not her attention. He had simply treated her like a person. That should not have felt extraordinary. But it did. As she prepared to leave, Daniel approached. "I hope this isn't inappropriate," he said. Jennifer raised an eyebrow. "That depends. I'd like to speak with you again." Her heart moved strangely. "Why?" The question came out sharper than intended. Daniel accepted it. "Because I enjoyed speaking with you. People say things at events." "I know." "Then tomorrow you'll go back to your glass office, and I'll go back to taking temporary shifts." "Probably." His honesty surprised her. "But that doesn't mean tonight has to disappear." Jennifer studied him. Rain still fell outside. London shimmered beneath streetlights. A fox crossed the hotel driveway, thin and quick, disappearing behind a hedge. Daniel took a napkin from a nearby table and wrote something on it. His number. He handed it to her. No pressure. Jennifer stared at the napkin. Do executives always give their numbers on hotel napkins? Only when they forget business cards. You forgot business cards at a corporate gala. Apparently, yes. Very unprofessional. I'll include it in my annual review. She laughed. Then she took the napkin. Their fingers touched briefly. Nothing dramatic happened. No thunder. No music. No sudden revelation. Just a small warmth. But sometimes small warmth is enough to begin a fire. Chapter 12. Victor Lawson hears a rumor. 3 days later, East London woke beneath a hard grey sky. The streets smelled of fried food, petrol, damp brick, and early morning rain. Jennifer sat in her kitchen, staring at the napkin. Daniel's number remained folded beside her tea. She had not called. Not yet. Part of her wanted to. Another part warned her not to trust kindness too quickly. Kindness had often been the costume cruelty wore before revealing itself. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She ignored it. It buzzed again. Then a message appeared. Still think you're better than family? Jennifer's stomach turned cold. Victor. Her uncle. She had blocked him many times. He always found a new number. Another message came. I heard you were working fancy events now. Don't forget who fed you. Jennifer's hand trembled. The kitchen suddenly felt smaller. Outside, a dog barked at passing cyclists. A bus roared down the wet road. Somewhere in the building, a baby cried. Jennifer read the message again. Don't forget who fed you. He had fed her insults. Fear. Shame. But never love. Her breathing quickened. Then she looked at Daniel's napkin. For reasons she didn't fully understand, she picked up her phone. Typed his number. Paused. Deleted it. Typed again. This time she sent a message. Hello. It's Jennifer. From the gala. The ambitious wine girl. She stared at the screen. A reply came almost immediately. I was hoping you'd message. How are your feet after surviving the gala? Jennifer laughed despite herself. Then she cried. Not loudly. Just one silent tear. Because for once, someone had remembered something small about her. And after a life of being forgotten, that felt enormous. Chapter 13. Coffee beneath the summer sky. London awoke beneath a beautiful June morning. The sky stretched endlessly above the city in shades of pale blue. Sunlight reflected off office towers. Birds darted between rooftops. Flower boxes overflowed with colour. The city seemed lighter, happier, more hopeful. Jennifer stood outside a small cafe near Hyde Park. Her stomach felt full of nervous butterflies. She checked her phone. Then checked it again. And again. Daniel had invited her for coffee. Just coffee. A simple meeting. Nothing complicated. Yet her heart behaved as though she were about to sit an important examination. People moved around her. Cyclists glided past. Dogs pulled excited owners through the park. Children chased pigeons. The smell of fresh coffee and warm pastries drifted through the air. Then she saw him. Daniel crossed the street wearing a navy jacket and dark jeans. Without the expensive suit and executive presence, he looked surprisingly normal. Approachable. Human. His smile appeared as he spotted her. Jennifer felt something strange. Something she hadn't felt in years. Safety. Good morning, Daniel said. Morning. You came. You invited me. That doesn't guarantee anything. She laughed. Daniel held the cafe door open. Ladies first. Jennifer narrowed her eyes. Do executives still do that? The good ones. Confident answer. Extremely. The cafe overlooked Hyde Park. Large windows allowed sunlight to spill across wooden tables. Plants decorated shelves. Soft jazz played quietly through hidden speakers. A golden retriever slept beside the counter. Jennifer immediately liked the place. Daniel ordered coffee. Jennifer ordered tea. The conversation started easily. Then became easier. Hours seemed to disappear. They talked about books, movies, childhood memories, favorite foods, terrible school experiences, funny family stories. For the first time in years, Jennifer found herself laughing freely. Not politely, not professionally, genuinely. Daniel noticed. Her laughter transformed her. It brightened her entire face. The sadness never completely disappeared. But when she laughed, hope became visible. And Daniel found himself wanting to see that expression more often. "Tell me something," Jennifer said. "What? Why aren't you married?" Daniel nearly choked on his coffee. Straight to the difficult questions. Jennifer smiled. "I'm curious." Daniel stared out the window. The park shimmered beneath sunlight. A squirrel climbed a nearby tree. Children fed ducks beside a pond. For a moment he seemed lost in thought. "I was engaged once." Jennifer blinked. The answer surprised her. "What happened?" Daniel smiled sadly. "Life. That's vague. It ended several years ago." "You loved her?" "Very much." Jennifer remained silent. Daniel appreciated that. Many people rushed to fill silence. Jennifer allowed it to exist. "She wanted a different life," Daniel continued. "I was obsessed with work." "Did you regret it?" "Every day." The honesty hung between them. Heavy. Real. Jennifer looked down at her tea. "You know," she said quietly, "sometimes people leave before we realize how important they are." Daniel looked at her. There was pain behind her words. The kind that came from experience. The kind that came from loss. Chapter 14. A secret she could not hide. Over the next several weeks, Daniel and Jennifer met often. Sometimes for coffee. Sometimes for lunch. Sometimes for walks through parks. Other times they simply sat together talking. No expectations. No pressure. Just companionship. Something both had lacked for a very long time. One Saturday afternoon they visited Richmond Park. The weather was glorious. Sunlight filtered through enormous oak trees. Deer wandered peacefully across open grasslands. The breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. Birdsong filled the air. London felt far away. The city noise replaced by nature's quiet rhythm. Jennifer sat on a wooden bench. Daniel beside her. A family nearby laughed while feeding ducks. A Labrador chased a tennis ball. Butterflies drifted among flowers. The scene looked perfect. Almost too perfect. Jennifer stared ahead. Her expression changed. Daniel noticed immediately. "What is it?" Jennifer remained silent. A battle was happening inside her. A battle between fear and honesty. Finally she spoke. "There's something you need to know about me." Daniel listened. The wind moved gently through the trees. Leaves rustled overhead. Somewhere in the distance, a woodpecker tapped against bark. Jennifer's voice trembled slightly. "I haven't always done respectable work." Daniel stayed quiet. She appreciated that. He wasn't interrupting. He wasn't rescuing. He was listening. "My parents died when I was young." Daniel nodded. "You told me." "My uncle made life difficult." She swallowed hard. "When I left home, I struggled." The words became harder. More painful. "I couldn't pay rent." Daniel's heart tightened. He already sensed where the story was going. Still he said nothing. "I got desperate." A tear rolled down Jennifer's cheek. "I started doing things I'm not proud of." Silence. The wind. Birds. Distant laughter. Everything continued normally while Jennifer's world threatened to collapse. She looked away. Unable to meet his eyes. "I was involved in prostitution." The truth. The ugly truth. The truth she feared most. The truth that had destroyed opportunities. Destroyed friendships. Destroyed relationships. For several seconds, nobody spoke. Jennifer's chest tightened. Here it comes. Judgment. Disgust. Pity. Rejection. The familiar sequence. Then Daniel spoke. Quietly. "Was it what you wanted?" Jennifer stared at him. "What? Was it what you wanted?" "No." "Then why did you do it?" "Because I was hungry." Her voice cracked. "Because I was scared." Another tear followed. "Because I couldn't see another way." Daniel nodded slowly. Then said something Jennifer would remember for the rest of her life. "You survived." Jennifer froze. He continued. "You didn't choose luxury. You chose survival. Fresh tears appeared. Not tears of shame. Relief. Because for the first time, somebody looked beyond her worst chapter. And saw the whole story. Chapter 15. Feelings neither could ignore. Summer deepened. Days grew longer. Evenings became golden. The city seemed wrapped in warm sunlight. And slowly, quietly, something changed between Daniel and Jennifer. Neither wanted to admit it. Neither could avoid it. They were falling in love. It happened gradually. Daniel began noticing things. The way Jennifer tucked loose hair behind her ear when nervous. The way she smiled at dogs before people. The way she always thanked waiters. The way she became excited discussing books. The way she tried to hide sadness. The way she cared. Really cared. About people. About life. About small things. Things many others ignored. Jennifer noticed things too. The way Daniel listened carefully. The way he remembered details. The way he treated everyone respectfully. The way he checked on elderly neighbors. The way he laughed. The way loneliness occasionally appeared in his eyes before disappearing again. She saw the man behind the success. The boy from Lavender Lane. The son who still missed his parents. The human being beneath the title. And she loved what she saw. One evening they walked beside the Thames. The sunset painted the sky orange and gold. Tour boats moved slowly along the river. Street musicians performed nearby. Couples strolled hand in hand. The city glowed beautifully. Jennifer stopped near a railing. The river reflected thousands of lights. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Daniel wasn't looking at the river. He was looking at her. "Yes." Jennifer turned. Their eyes met. For a moment, everything else disappeared. The noise. The city. The people. Only the two of them remained. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. Because some feelings become too large for words. Chapter 16. The return of Victor Lawson. While love quietly grew, danger was moving closer. Victor Lawson had been watching. Waiting. Gathering information. And growing angry. Very angry. Victor sat inside a betting shop in East London. The room smelled of stale cigarettes, cheap coffee, and frustration. Television screens displayed horse races. Gamblers studied betting slips. Victor ignored all of it. His attention remained fixed on photographs. Photographs of Jennifer. Photographs of Daniel. Photographs taken secretly. His eyes narrowed. So that's him. The wealthy executive. The successful businessman. The man spending time with Jennifer. Victor smiled. But there was nothing pleasant about it. The smile resembled a predator discovering prey. Victor had always believed Jennifer owed him. In his twisted mind, raising her entitled him to control her forever. Now he saw opportunity. Money. Influence. Possibilities. And Victor Lawson loved opportunities. Later that evening he made several phone calls. Then another. And another. By midnight he had learned enough. Daniel Morgan. Corporate executive. High-profile reputation. Successful company. Public image. Victor leaned back. Smiling slowly. The smile of a man planning trouble. A man like that, he whispered, won't want certain stories becoming public. Rain began falling outside. Thunder rolled across the city. The weather seemed to sense what was coming. And somewhere across London, Jennifer sat laughing with Daniel over dinner. Completely unaware. Completely happy. For the first time in years. Neither knew that Victor Lawson had just stepped back into their lives. And neither understood how dangerous he could be. Chapter 17. The first kiss. The storm arrived suddenly. Heavy rain pounded London streets. Cars sprayed water across roads. Wind shook trees violently. Lightning flashed above the skyline. Jennifer and Daniel found themselves trapped beneath the awning of a small bookstore. The weather had forced pedestrians to seek shelter. People crowded nearby. Laughing. Complaining. Waiting. The smell of rain filled the air. Fresh. Clean. Powerful. Jennifer watched water run down the pavement. It's strange. What is? Daniel asked. I used to hate rain. Daniel looked at her. Used to. Jennifer nodded. Now it reminds me that things can change. Daniel smiled. The answer touched him. More than she realized. The rain continued falling. The world seemed to shrink around them. Closer. Quieter. More intimate. Jennifer looked up. Daniel looked down. Their eyes met. Neither moved away. And then, very gently, very naturally, Daniel kissed her. The kiss was soft, respectful, tender, everything Jennifer never expected to experience. When they finally pulled apart, neither spoke immediately. Both smiled. And for the first time in many years, the future looked brighter than the past. But neither knew that Victor Lawson had already begun putting his plan into motion. And the storm outside was nothing compared to the storm approaching their lives. Chapter 18. The Price of Secrets. The storm that had begun with rain soon arrived in another form. Human. Cruel. Calculating. Victor Lawson. Monday morning dawned grey over London. Clouds drifted heavily above the city. The air felt unusually still, as if nature itself sensed trouble approaching. Daniel arrived at Hawthorne International Holdings shortly before 8 o'clock. The lobby buzzed with activity. Employees crossed marble floors carrying coffee cups and laptops. Security guards greeted visitors. Elevators moved constantly. Everything appeared normal. But normality was about to end. At precisely 8:17 a.m., Daniel received an email. The subject line contained only 3 words. We need to talk. No greeting. No explanation. Only an attachment. Daniel opened it. His expression changed immediately. Inside were photographs. Jennifer. Old photographs. Painful photographs. Photographs from the darkest period of her life. Daniel felt physically sick. A second document followed. A message. Mr. Morgan. I understand you have become close to my niece. I believe you should know who she really is. Call me. Victor Lawson. Daniel stared at the screen. Anger rose instantly. Not toward Jennifer. Toward Victor. Toward the cruelty. Toward the deliberate attempt to weaponize someone's pain. His phone rang. Unknown number. Daniel answered. Victor Lawson. The voice on the other end laughed. You got my message. What do you want? A conversation. What do you really want? Victor's tone changed. Money. Of course. Daniel almost laughed. People like Victor always wanted something. Usually money. Sometimes power. Often both. If you think I'm paying you, you should listen first. Daniel remained silent. Victor continued. Your company has a reputation. So, what happens if newspapers receive certain photographs? Daniel's jaw tightened. What happens if investors learn their respected executive is dating a former prostitute? The words hung heavily between them. Cruel. Ugly. Designed to wound. Victor enjoyed every second. Daniel's voice became dangerously calm. If you contact Jennifer again. What? You'll sue me? No. Victor paused. The calmness unsettled him more than shouting. I'll stop you. For the first time, Victor felt uncertain. Then the moment passed. We'll see. The call ended. Daniel sat motionless. Outside his office window, London continued normally. Boats moved along the Thames. People crossed bridges. Birds flew overhead. Life carried on, unaware that somebody's past had just become a weapon. Chapter 19. The boardroom attack. By midday, the situation worsened. Far worse. Someone had leaked information. Not publicly. Not yet. But internally. Rumors spread through the company. Quiet conversations appeared in hallways. People whispered. Questions emerged. Executives exchanged concerned looks. By afternoon, Daniel was summoned to an emergency board meeting. The boardroom occupied the top floor. The room was enormous. Glass walls overlooked London. A polished table stretched across the center. The atmosphere felt colder than usual. Much colder. As Daniel entered, he immediately understood. Everyone knew. Or believed they did. Harold Bennett, the chairman, cleared his throat. Daniel. Harold. Please sit. Daniel Saturday. The silence lasted several seconds. Long enough to become uncomfortable. Then Harold spoke. We've received concerning information. Daniel said nothing. A board member slid photographs across the table. Daniel didn't look. He already knew. Another executive leaned forward. Are these authentic? Daniel stared at him. Why does that matter? It matters because... No. Daniel interrupted. It doesn't. The room became quiet. Again. You're missing the point, another director said. Am I? This could damage the company's reputation. Daniel laughed. Not because anything was funny. Because the hypocrisy amazed him. Interesting. What is the concern? The director frowned. Daniel continued. Not one person here is concerned about the woman involved. Nobody answered. Because he was right. The discussion wasn't about Jennifer. It was about optics. Image. Perception. Public relations. Daniel stood. My relationship with Jennifer Lawson is my business. Not if it affects shareholders. The statement irritated him. Deeply. So a woman survives hardship, rebuilds her life, works honestly, and somehow she's the problem. Silence. Again. Daniel looked around the room. Many avoided eye contact. Some looked uncomfortable. Others looked embarrassed. Good. They should. Because the conversation revealed more about them than it did about Jennifer. Finally Harold spoke. We're advising caution. Daniel nodded. Then smiled. A smile without warmth. Advice noted. And he walked out. Chapter 20. The Betrayal. Daniel assumed Victor was acting alone. He was wrong. Very wrong. The real danger sat much closer. Inside his own company. Inside his own executive team. A man named Adrian Fletcher. Adrian had worked beside Daniel for years. Professional. Polished. Respectable. At least on the surface. Beneath that surface lived jealousy. Years of it. Daniel received promotions. Daniel received recognition. Daniel received opportunities. And Adrian hated it. Quietly. Patiently. For years. When Victor began making inquiries, Adrian saw opportunity. A chance to weaken Daniel. A chance to remove him. A chance to claim the position he believed he deserved. That evening Adrian met Victor in a private bar. Rain tapped against the windows. The room smelled of whiskey and expensive leather. Both men sat in a dark corner. Neither trusted the other. But greed creates strange partnerships. Will it work? Victor asked. Adrian smiled. Oh yes. What happens next? Pressure. Victor nodded. And then? People panic. And Daniel? Adrian sipped his drink. He'll fall eventually. Neither man realized how badly they had underestimated Daniel. Or Jennifer. Chapter 21. The Disappearance. Jennifer learned everything the following morning. Not from Daniel. From social media. The article appeared shortly after sunrise. A gossip website published vague accusations. No names initially. Just suggestions. Hints. Speculation. Enough to attract attention. Enough to start rumors. Jennifer sat frozen. Her tea grew cold beside her. The article wasn't explicit. But she understood immediately. Someone was digging. Someone was exposing her past. Her hands trembled. The old shame returned. The old fear. The old belief that she could never escape who she once was. Then her phone rang. Daniel. She stared at the screen. Unable to answer. Not because she was angry. Because she was terrified. The fear grew stronger. What if he changed his mind? What if everyone changed their minds? What if Victor succeeded? What if she ruined Daniel's life? His reputation? His career? His future? By lunchtime she had convinced herself of something dangerous. That Daniel would be better without her. People often make terrible decisions when acting from love. Jennifer was no exception. That evening she packed a bag. A few clothes. Her photograph of her parents. Important documents. Nothing else. Then she left. No message. No explanation. Nothing. She simply disappeared. Chapter 22. Searching London. Daniel realized something was wrong almost immediately. Jennifer wasn't answering. Calls went unanswered. Messages remained unread. Her apartment was empty. Panic arrived quickly. And Daniel hated panic. Because panic made him feel helpless. For 3 days he searched. Everywhere. He visited cafes, restaurants, parks, libraries, places they had visited together, places she mentioned once in passing. London suddenly felt enormous. Too enormous. Millions of people. Thousands of streets. Endless possibilities. One evening he sat on a bench in Hyde Park. Exhausted. Defeated. The same bench where Jennifer had shared her secret. The same bench where trust began. The sun slowly disappeared. Birds settled into trees. Dogs returned home. The park grew quiet. Daniel stared at the sky. And for the first time in years, he prayed. Not for success. Not for money. Not for business. For Jennifer. Please let her be safe. The wind moved gently through the trees, as if carrying the words away. Chapter 23. The letter. On the fourth day, Sarah Collins entered Daniel's office carrying an envelope. It arrived this morning. Daniel looked up immediately. His heart knew before his mind did. Jennifer. The envelope contained a handwritten letter. The handwriting trembled slightly, as though written through tears. Daniel. If you're reading this, I'm already gone. Please don't look for me. I know that's unfair, but I need you to understand. You spent your life building something beautiful. I won't be the reason it gets destroyed. You deserve someone without my history. Someone who won't bring problems into your life. Someone easier. Someone better. Thank you for every conversation. Every coffee. Every laugh. You made me feel human again. For that, I will always be grateful. Jennifer. Daniel finished reading. Then read it again. Then a third time. Finally he folded the letter carefully, placed it inside his jacket, and smiled. Because Jennifer had made one mistake. A very important mistake. She believed she got to decide what he deserved. And Daniel Morgan intended to prove her wrong. Chapter 24. The clue. That evening, Daniel reread the letter once more. Something caught his attention. A small detail. One sentence. Thank you for every conversation, every coffee, every laugh. Coffee. Jennifer always mentioned places accidentally, without realizing. A habit. One cafe in particular. A small coastal cafe she'd once described. A place her parents used to take her when she was little. Before they died. Before everything changed. A place outside London. Suddenly Daniel stood. His heart racing. For the first time in days, hope returned. Because he knew where to look next. And somewhere far from London, Jennifer sat alone beside the sea. Believing her story with Daniel had ended. Completely unaware that he was already on his way. Toward her. Toward the truth. Toward the fight that would decide both their futures. Chapter 25. The Woman by the Sea. The journey began before sunrise. London still slept beneath a blanket of darkness. Streetlights glowed softly. Foxes wandered through quiet roads. Delivery vans rumbled through empty streets. The city seemed to breathe slowly. Daniel drove south. Away from skyscrapers. Away from boardrooms. Away from problems. Toward hope. The sky gradually brightened. Pink and orange stretched across the horizon. Fields replaced buildings. Rolling hills replaced concrete. The air became cleaner. Fresher. Freer. 3 hours later, Daniel arrived at a small coastal town. The sea stretched endlessly into the distance. Waves rolled toward shore. Seagulls circled overhead. Fishing boats rocked gently in the harbor. The smell of salt filled the air. Children chased each other along the beach. Dogs sprinted through the sand. The town felt peaceful. Like a place where broken hearts came to heal. Daniel searched for hours. Cafes. Bookshops. The harbor. The promenade. Nothing. Then he saw it. A small cafe overlooking the sea. White walls. Blue shutters. Flower baskets hanging outside. The exact place Jennifer had once described. Daniel entered. A bell chimed above the door. An elderly woman behind the counter smiled. Good afternoon. Daniel returned the smile. I'm looking for someone. The woman studied him carefully. Then smiled again. The young lady by the cliffs. Daniel's heart skipped. Jennifer. The woman nodded. She's there every morning. Daniel thanked her and hurried away. The wind grew stronger as he climbed the coastal path. Grass swayed. Wildflowers danced. The ocean crashed below. And then he saw her. Jennifer sat alone near the edge of the cliffs, looking toward the horizon. Lost in thought. Lost in sadness. Lost in the belief that she had done the right thing. For several seconds Daniel simply stood there, watching. Not because he was angry. Not because he wanted answers. Because he was grateful. Grateful she was safe. Jennifer turned. Their eyes met. The color drained from her face. Daniel. He smiled. You really thought a letter would stop me? Tears immediately filled her eyes. You shouldn't be here. I disagree. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Jennifer stood. The sea wind whipped through her hair. You deserve better. Daniel laughed softly. There it is. What? The thing you keep saying. She stared at him, confused. You keep deciding what I deserve. His voice became gentle. But that's my choice, Jennifer. Fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. I was trying to protect you. I know. The articles. I know. The photographs. I know. My past. I know. The ocean roared beneath them. Seagulls cried overhead. Clouds drifted lazily across the sky. Nature seemed to pause and listen. Then Daniel stepped closer. Jennifer. She looked at him. You are not the worst thing that ever happened to you. Her lips trembled. You are not your mistakes. Another tear fell. You are not your past. The wall she had spent years building finally cracked. Then shattered completely. Jennifer cried openly. Years of pain. Years of shame. Years of fear. Released at once. Daniel simply held her. And for the first time since childhood, Jennifer felt completely safe. Chapter 26. The final attack. Back in London, Victor Lawson was becoming desperate. Very desperate. His attempts at blackmail had failed. Daniel refused to pay. Jennifer had disappeared. The story was losing momentum. Desperate people make reckless decisions. Victor was no exception. Together with Adrian Fletcher, he planned one final attack. A public scandal. A media leak. A complete destruction of Daniel's reputation. What neither man realized was that their partnership had already attracted attention. Sarah Collins had noticed irregular company communications. Legal teams had noticed unauthorized document access. Private investigators had begun asking questions. And most importantly, Daniel had already prepared for war. Chapter 27. The truth comes to light. The board meeting was scheduled for Friday morning. Every director attended. Every senior executive attended. And for the first time, Jennifer attended too. The boardroom fell silent when she entered. Not because she looked ashamed. Because she looked strong, confident, graceful, unafraid. Daniel sat beside her. Not behind her. Not in front of her. Beside her. Exactly where she belonged. Harold Bennett cleared his throat. We've gathered to discuss recent events. Daniel stood. No. Everyone looked confused. No, Harold. The chairman frowned. What do you mean? We're not discussing rumors. Daniel's voice echoed through the room. We're discussing facts. He pressed a button. The screen behind him illuminated. Documents appeared. Emails. Bank records. Phone records. Private meetings. Evidence. Adrian's face immediately lost color. Victor's name appeared repeatedly. Payments. Messages. Arrangements. The room erupted. What is this? Daniel answered calmly. This is the truth. Over the next 30 minutes, every detail emerged. The blackmail. The conspiracy. The leak. The manipulation. The attempted destruction of both Daniel and Jennifer. Harold looked horrified. Several directors looked furious. Others looked embarrassed. Adrian sank lower into his chair. Finally security entered. Mr. Fletcher. The head of security spoke firmly. You need to come with us. Adrian didn't argue. Because there was nothing left to say. Meanwhile, police officers arrived downstairs. Waiting for Victor Lawson. The moment Victor exited the building, he was arrested. For fraud. Extortion. Blackmail. and multiple unrelated financial crimes discovered during the investigation. As officers led him away, Victor turned back. His face twisted with anger. Jennifer simply looked at him. Not with hatred. Not with fear. With freedom. And for the first time in his life, Victor realized he no longer controlled her. Chapter 28. A public choice. Several days later, journalists gathered outside company headquarters. Questions filled the air. Cameras flashed. Microphones stretched forward. Daniel stepped outside. Jennifer stood beside him. A reporter asked the question everyone expected. "Mr. Morgan, are you concerned that Jennifer Lawson's past may affect your public image?" The crowd became silent. Waiting. Daniel smiled. Then answered, "No." The reporter blinked. "No." Daniel shook his head. "I'm concerned about how society treats people who survive hardship." The crowd became quieter. Daniel continued. "Jennifer Lawson worked harder to rebuild her life than many people ever will." Jennifer stared at him. He continued. "She is brave." Another pause. "She is kind." Another. "She is honest." And finally, "She is the woman I love." The crowd erupted. Cameras flashed wildly. Questions exploded. But Daniel didn't care. Because for once, the only opinion that mattered stood beside him. Jennifer. And she was smiling through tears. Chapter 29. The Garden of Roses. 1 year later. Summer returned. The sky was brilliant blue. Birds sang from nearby trees. Butterflies drifted through flowers. The air smelled of roses. Dozens of guests gathered in a beautiful garden outside London. A familiar garden. Lavender Lane. Daniel had restored his childhood home. Every flower bed had been rebuilt. Every rose bush carefully preserved. Every memory honored. Margaret Morgan's roses bloomed magnificently. Red, white, pink, yellow. The garden looked magical. Friends filled the lawn. Sarah Collins cried openly. Harold Bennett attended. Even Mr. Pembroke, the executive who once requested ambitious wine, arrived. When asked how he was feeling, he replied, "I've remained loyal to ambitious wine." The entire wedding party laughed. Jennifer stood beneath a flower arch. Radiant. Beautiful. Peaceful. Not because life had been easy. Because she had survived it. Daniel waited nearby. Unable to stop smiling. The ceremony began. Birds sang overhead. A warm breeze moved through the roses. The sun illuminated everything with golden light. Then Jennifer reached him. The woman who had once believed she was broken. The woman who had once believed she was unworthy of love. The woman who had served wine at a corporate gala. The woman who had changed his life. The vows were simple. Honest. Perfect. And when Daniel kissed her, applause erupted throughout the garden. Somewhere above, a robin landed among the roses. Exactly the kind Margaret Morgan loved. Daniel looked toward the flowers. And smiled. For a brief moment, he could almost hear his mother's voice. "One day you'll meet someone special, Danny." She had been right. Chapter 30. When Destiny Poured the Wine. Years later, people often asked how they met. Daniel would always smile. Jennifer would always laugh. And eventually one of them would answer, "Wine." People usually looked confused. Then Jennifer would explain, "A corporate gala." Daniel would add, "An ambitious glass of wine." And Mr. Pembroke's unfortunate networking disaster. The story always made people laugh. But beneath the humor existed something deeper. A lesson. Life is unpredictable. Sometimes destiny arrives through tragedy. Sometimes through struggle. Sometimes through years of pain. And sometimes it arrives carrying a silver tray, offering a glass of wine, waiting patiently for two lonely people to notice each other. The boy from Lavender Lane found his future. The girl who survived everything found her peace. And together they built a life neither believed possible. Outside their home, roses continued to bloom. Birds continued to sing. Seasons continued to change. The world continued to move forward. And every summer evening, when the sunlight turned golden and the garden glowed beautifully, Daniel and Jennifer would sit together among the flowers, holding hands, watching the sky, grateful, not for perfect lives, but for second chances. Because sometimes the most beautiful stories begin after the worst chapters end. The end. Written by Nonso Chukwuani. Thank you so much for enjoying my story. Please kindly subscribe to my channel. Like and share this story. Thank you.